Welcome back to another reading and correcting of Bottom Rung by me, Kindar, the Tiger Right. If you want to listen to these live every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And today we are doing Chapter 7. There you are, Ariana said as she sat next to him. It had been a few days since they'd been able to find each other. Their mornings were busy with training. Spent the afternoon walking around the tents as the purpose marked by the spike in the ground and the adventurers' patrol. Every few days it was extended tent as a as new tents needed space. Tibs hoped that it would reach the lake and the stream. Could see now that the trees around it had been cut down. He'd never touched water. I did a second dungeon run today. She looked at her slop, then ate it uninto. How did it go? Tibs was on his second bowl. Even after you told me about yours, I'd get one. When I asked my instructor, he made it sound like there was a roster and that I'd only go after everyone else had. Rogues are different, Ed, because they keep dying. Seems to me, everyone else that keeps dying, oral sleep, eating again. He had told her about how the sorcerer had tried to get him to eaten by the rats. Shuddered at them. I don't think there's a rule. Just throw people together like they did with me. Maybe they ask what you are to make sure they cover all the classes, but that's it. Nodded. There's 4 classes here, so they want them evenly represented. Then it doesn't matter who the 5th is. I was hanging among people waiting for their turn clearing when one of the adventurers asked my class and put me with the group. She smiled and lead in, lowering her voice. Didn't know how to tell what tiles were triggers. I had to point out the symbol to her. Smile fell. We lost our sorcerer, the other archer and fighter in the older room. We didn't try to go further. I did notice something I want to verify the next time. He waited for her to elaborate, but she made a face at the back to eat. They put 5 people in 4 classes? Asked. She looked like she was quick, but then stopped. Eventually, they're going to let clerics depart. When they're like us, they train at a different dungeon, one set up for them. Oh, that explained it. Not that he knew what a cleric was, but by her discomfort answering him, he decided not to ask and went back to eating too. As they left the mess hall, yells of thief and someone stole my coppers sounded behind them. Ariana looked at Tibs. He put his hand in his pockets, both to avoid temptation, and jostled that. As they were jostled by and to make sure his bundle of wrapped coppers. Excuse me, Tibbs asked the adventurer, looking over the knives spread on a kitchen stand. There was now a wooden building in the town, but it was a tavern. Hadn't been able to go inside. There were people lining out the door for the taste and cart of ale after weeks of whatever the mess hall served. But he had climbed a wall atop the roof, gotten an even more amazing view of the countryside. The woods were bigger than he thought, and the stream leaving the lake continued down the gentle hill until the horizon. The man looked him over, his utterly black eyes taking it in and back to look the knife over. I know you from somewhere, said, placing the knife back. When the man looked in his direction again, Tibbs discreetly tapped his left wrist, hoping the rogue adventurer hadn't shown that to every other thief he met. He frowned, then smiled. Mr. Lightfinger, glad to see you're still alive, with both hands. I help you with something. You know how to fight. Then turned to face Tibbs and arm over his chest. Surviving dungeon crawls is hard if you don't know that. Tips felt better now that he could do that, but wondered where the man kept his knife. Every other adventurer, well, most of them, carried their weapons openly. Notice without any were fighters, and he had the sense their fists were their preferred weapon. Can you teach me? Studied Tibs, the knife, handing the merchant a few coins, asked for Tibbs to see them. Come with me, and led Tibbs through the crowd and a patch of construction material, but no one around to watch over. Tents hid them from the others. Tibbs hesitated. Once in there, no one would see what happened to him, and with the sound of the crowd, maybe no one would hear him scream either. The rogue smiled. I'm not going to hurt you. Straight opposite the one he sat on. I never enjoyed hurting people unless they did something wrong, and you don't have enough coins for me to bother with. Should find a better place to hide them. Bound to tempt one of the other crawlers. Tips put a hand on his pocket, closing his ears over the bundle. I haven't found any safe. The rogue looked around and nodded. Give you that. But all the people and the construction, even the ground isn't safe. I guess done is the best you can do at the moment. Tightened his hand over the bundle. How many crawls have you been on? I asked and frowned, trying to understand what he meant. In the dungeon. I know you've been in once. That's when we met. Have you for that? One more time. Turn equipment that time too. Said. Bro considered something. How do you feel about taking clothing off the dead? Shrugged. Where did the men think Tibbs had gotten what he wasn't like any tailor would dress him, even if he had the pay. Next scroll you're on when someone dies. What they wear is better than what you have on your back. Take it for yourself. Smiled and Tibbs looked at it. Even he knew it was a little better than rags at this point. Most of what others wore weren't much better, but some can't steal, said. A warning in the adventure rushing to the hall, the glee in their the dead can't complain. Your group mates might, but I doubt they'll wear anything much better than you do, so offer to share. Do you know how to sew? Nodded. I haven't had Mama to fix clothes for a long time. Then invest one of those copper in an elo and offer to fix your clothing. It should help keep them. It should help them get over the outrage or object to you taking from the dead. Don't make a coin pouch. Just attracts too much. I'd the rogue. You think he was an idiot? And raised an eyebrow and kept this thought to himself. Then he asked, why do you say crawl? What do you mean? You said dungeon crawl. Called us crawlers. Everyone else I heard say dungeon run and calls us runners. The rogue sighed. Showing my age, I guess, but never mind that. Crossed his arm over his chest. The advice I gave you was the only free help you get. No one here is in the habit of working for free. If I train you, what's in it for me? Tibbs bit his lower lip, then pulled a bundle out of his pocket and offered it to the rogue. All I have. Put that away. I told you I don't bother with. Tibbs did as told and fixed his gaze on the man's eyes. On copper had a good idea what other kind of payment he'd want. There were very few ways for an urchin to pay like him to pay a man like the rogue. You want from me? Asked, doing his best to keep his voice from trembling. Do it. He had to survive. And have to get that look off your face. The man said, sounded as I'm definitely not into that. And if anyone ever suggests you pay them that way, tell me about it. The dungeon doesn't care all that much if who it eats is dead when we put them inside. Then how am I going to pay? I don't have more coin. Look, kid, my name's Tibbs. Annoyed at Tibbs giving him his name. Tibbs, this isn't the street you came from. The dungeon might kill you, but the people out here don't have the right to treat you like you were treated there. Sure, Tibbs answered doubtfully. First rule of the street was that those with power used it to get what they wanted. He'd seen it happen to others, Mama, and he would never forget. Forget it. The rogue looked amused. What I could use is someone who can move about town for size. That you can go anywhere you want, even outside the town. The man tapped his. That does more than mark us. It leaves a trail to where we've been. If I hurt you and you complain, or your dead body and it was found, it wouldn't matter where I went. The mark wouldn't. They found me. Well, even us talking this might come back to cause trouble, but so long as we're careful and don't give anyone a reason to be okay. So that's my price. Want me to move about, take and put things in places they weren't, he added. Well, get a thief like him, and you train me to fight. The rest of your rogue stuff I leave to your teacher. With and without a knife. Sure. Anytime I've touched one of those was to pull it out of my body. I want to use that. Bigger, better in a fight. Don't listen to those fighters. Not because it's big that it's better. Come on then, let me show you why a knife is better than this. But if I still want to use a sword? The man looked at him. Something. All right, catch. Out of nowhere, the man lobbed a sword at Tibs, who stepped out of the way and landed in the sand. Looked at it. Where did you get that? Now with his them to pull them out. Doesn't mean I throw them away. Looked at them. Got no bag, no scabbard. Come on, pick it up. Show me just how much better one of those is. Tibbs looked at it, grabbed it by the hilt, raised it until only the point was in the ground. The pommel was at the center of his chest. Too big. That's a small sword. If you want smaller, you have to settle for a knife. You said you wanted a sword. You need to raise it if you have to swing at me. Tibbs did as he was told, near as heavy as he thought. He raised it over his head, then found he was staggering back as it pulled on him. Managed to steady himself and looking at him, bored. Annoyed, Tibbs stepped forward and swung. The man was no longer where the sword passed, and Tibbs found it was carrying him with it. Turn until a foot landed on his ass and down. You're dead, kid. Of course I'm dead, Tibbs yelled, standing. I've never used one before. You're supposed to teach me. You think you have the time to learn? When's the next time you're going in the dungeon? It wasn't like anyone told them I had a time. You want to use a sword, you need to build up your strength. You need to build up your endurance. Well, for someone like you, you need to stay still to use it, and its own weight's going to pull you, or its own weight's going to pull you down. The man raised a hand, and he had a knife in it. Throw it without looking away. The point away from Tibbs, and the point embedded itself in the crate. You know there's something different? What you did? I can't throw that sword. The man closed his eyes and let out a breath. I didn't have to get close to what I hit. Tibbs crossed his arm over his chest. I only got one knife when I go in the dungeon. I can't throw it. The dungeon's gonna eat it. The other thief opened his mouth, then closed it. He tried again, still said nothing. You know, it's been so long, I actually don't remember what my first crawls were like, chuckled. He went and picked up the sword. He turned to face. It was no longer in his hand. Tibbs looked around. He'd have seen. The man looked where Tibbs looked. Did I miss something? Where's the sword? I put it away. We're not going to need it. He offered Tibbs a knife. Where had it come from? Tibbs took it and turned it over. Felt reeling. Looked at the crates and prepared to throw it, but the man grabbed his wrist. This one isn't meant to be thrown. We're going to start with something that's going to be more useful to you at this time. Striking and dodging. Try to strike me, and you're going to try to dodge me. Aren't you going to use a knife? Indicated the man's empty hand. Do you want me to kill you? How are you going to strike? Ow! staggered back from the finger the man had shoved in his shoulder. I think I'm going to manage. I gave you my name, he said, rubbing his shoulder. What do I call you? The man said something in a flattering tone under pilot Tibs. I guess it depends on where you're from. Master is a popular one. Teacher is good too. Some places use sensei. But I don't. You don't look the type. Lemuel refers to people who give instruction as coach, so that if you prefer. No one's my master. My voice hard and dripping the knife tightly. There's already a lot of teachers here, so how are you going to know I mean you? That leaves the other two, while placing his hands behind his back. Not using them until I find someone other than you to explain what they mean. Not going to agree to be your servant just because you said they mean something. The mind smile. Cautious, that's good. Step back. You can call me Bardic. But my friends call me Bardic of the Silver Tongue and Sticky Fingers. Just Bardic then, said. He wasn't going to be friend with this man. Only going to learn from him. Just Bardic then. Leaning down, hand. So, try to stab me with a knife. Tibs tried. Tried hard. Didn't manage it. But by the time the training ended, Bardic had poked him hard enough, often enough, everything. This chapter 7 of Bottom Rung. If please like, if you want to know when the next one is up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the rest of the story, it's available on Royal Road for free. If you want to read ahead of others and support me, so on my Patreon, about 3 weeks, about 9 chapters ahead at this time. And if you want to listen to the live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Links are in the notes, and with that, I wish you a good day.